Thank you for joining today's episode of Solve It with Mr. Cohn. So what we're doing now is we're going to look at how do we deal with solving trig equations. So I did a previous video about establishing identities, and it was just an introductory video. Here's an introductory video about how to solve a trig equation. And the idea is to think about your trig functions as being terms in of themselves, just like if you had x plus x or 8x plus 2x, something like that. So here you have cosine 5x, cosine 5x. Those are like terms. You say, well, the 5x and the 5x? No, the entire thing. The cosine of 5x and the cosine of 5x, they are like terms, completely like terms, which means I can do what with them? Well, it means that I can add them together just like I would any other like term. So 8 plus 2 gives me 10. So I did 8 plus 2 gives me 10 right there. Notice I still have cosine of 5x. So now I had 8 cosines of 5x's. I had 2 cosines of 5x's, which gives me 10 cosines of 5x's. So then you say, well, what do you do now? Well, now you start solving it just like you would any other equation. You just got to keep going with undoing the work that's there. So it's 10 times the term. So that means I need to divide by 10, right? So I divide by 10 on both sides. And then I get cosine of 5x equals 1/2. And that's where these little cosine -1 things come into play. It's like, well, what is that thing? What that thing is that is the arc cosine. That's the inverse cosine function. So if you don't know that one very well, I have another video already posted about that, and you should go back and review that a little bit. So cosine of -1 cosine, those two would cancel each other out. Then you do cosine -1, there should be a little -1 right there. Cosine -1, our cosine of 1/2. Well, then we can actually do those calculations there, right? So arc cosine of 1/2 is pi over 3. You look at your unit circle, you find where x is equal to 1/2. That happens at pi over 3, or you do this in degrees if you prefer, if you're more comfortable with that. So that's 60 degrees, either one, doesn't matter. So we get pi over 3, then we have to divide both sides by 5, and we get pi over 15, or 12 degrees, whichever one you want to deal with, right? So again, if you're still saying, well, where did the 10 come from? Well, think about this entire piece right here as being x. This piece right here also have to be x, right? They're equal to each other, so they would be the same thing. So if you look over here, using that little example there, 8x plus 2x gives us 10x. But what do we have instead of x? Cosine 5x. All right, so we're treating cosine of 5x as a single term until we do that. So solving with trig functions is no different than any other thing. There's just this extra step at the end, right here. There's this extra step to get rid of the cosine. So we have to use arc cosine. So again, if you're used to memorizing steps, you might have a little bit of problem with this, but I encourage you to expand your mind a little bit and think about these things in terms of what they are. They are opposites. They are inverses of each other. They undo each other, so to speak. So as long as you can find the opposite function of something, you can always undo a operation, and that's what we're looking at here. Okay, if you have any questions, leave them in the comments below, or send me an email if you have access to my email. Thank you very much. Hope you enjoyed it.